What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and today we're going to be talking about the CZ P10 series. It is the best budget series on the market today. And what do I mean by that? Well, they have multiple size handguns that make it a series, but typically still stay in that budget oriented range, even the ones that come with an optic built in. They're all budget oriented, but honestly they are all quality, and I don't think there's a single other series out there that competes with the CZ P10 series. But before we get started, just wanted to point this back out. People wanted to see this again. I've had multiple requests on it. This is the PX4 Storm subcompact. No, it does not have that rotating barrel, but if it did, that would be absolutely awesome. But regardless of that, this thing is built like a tank, has unbelievable recoil control, has an awesome feature in the base plate right there, allowing me to get 2.5 fingers on that handgun, which is cool. Just imagine a Glock 26 with something like that. That way you could just fold it and it doesn't hurt you in the printing department, right? Feels good in the hand. Just wish it had some more texturing. But this thing handles recoil like an absolute beast with that big, heavy, thick barrel. Obviously, safety checked and cleared, but you have a nice single action trigger pull. But you also have a decocker, and boom, now you got double action. The thing is small as can be. I wear size large gloves for reference, and it's 13+1 and handles recoil like a beast. And honestly, it carries pretty well. You wouldn't think it would, but it sort of disappears. That's the PX4 Storm. So shout out to my buddy Heg, who actually told me about this little hole-in-the-wall gun store that I went to. Sometimes those are the best. As long as they're in a nicer city, they have some unbelievable used handguns. I'm not buying rusted-out Tauruses, rusted-out Rugers. No, higher-end stuff is all they take, and man, did I find a gem. And this was brand new. This wasn't even used. All the marks, everything you see on it, barrel wear, that's all from me shooting it. Love this thing. Anyways, the CZ P10 series. Absolute hit in my opinion. The one miss in a lot of people's minds was the P10M. They wanted this to have the trigger and shootability of everything else, which it does. It has the shootability. It just does not have the trigger. The reason for that is, think about an LCP, right? Think about a Smith & Wesson Bodyguard before all the new ones, right? They were heavier double action trigger pulls. Think about a revolver, heavier double action trigger pulls. Well, in this case, they wanted a heavier trigger because this is a pocket pistol. CZ came out and said, we designed this to fit in your pocket, and that's what it is. So your safety for fumbling around and moving and all that, I actually pocket carry. Most people are going to talk down on this handgun, never pocket carry, and also have never shot this handgun in my life. I have over 2,000 rounds to this thing, and I love the thing. And it only gets better and better as I go along. What I mean, as it breaks in, that trigger is lightening up, loosening up. It's just like the PPS M2. The more rounds you put through it, the better the handgun gets. So it's 7+1 in this setup, but also I have the 9+1 setup with that base plate. And 9+1, 10 rounds, you're good to go. But this is a pocket pistol. Notice there's no slide release or slide stop. Most people rely on the slide stop for everything. That's how they release the slide, blah, blah, blah. I always was taught to slingshot. Obviously, we're safety checked and cleared. I was always taught to slingshot it. Now, obviously, you don't have a slide stop, so the people are like, oh, what do I do? It's all about training for that battery arms. Oops, sorry guys. For that battery of arms. So I love this thing. It has a rail. I've seen people get them optics cut. Google it. Someone has a sick CZ setup, Cerakoted. They have an optic on it, have a light, and they actually got a custom holster made for it. And man, is that thing beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And you could have found these at some point for as low as $230. But guess what? People saw a couple YouTube videos and said, nope, can't do it. You guys, this has a 7 to 8 pound trigger. It is not bad at all. Look how short. No resistance, no sponginess, no take up to that wall. Break. Reset. People are just whining. They're picky. They're trigger snobs. This is a great trigger. Accurate as can be. This is a great shooting handgun. And like I said, this thing actually shoots like its larger counterparts. You don't believe me, but the way they designed it to handle recoil with that guide rod makes it shoot like the CZ P10S in terms of recoil, and this even has more muzzle flip. So I'm not sure what people are talking about, but I love this thing. The one thing I would say is give us real night sights. These have to be out in the light for them to glow. Like for instance, if you're carrying all day, they're not going to glow. But once again, you're not going to be using night sights in a self-defense encounter. It doesn't happen. You're point shooting, you're shooting from the draw, you're in a grappling match, so you have to just pull out real quick and let the thing go. People are just dramatic. Has an amazing finish. The exact finish on both the barrel and the slide that you would want for a pocket carry gun. And like I said, completely snag free. And the way they designed it, I wear size large gloves, like I said. You can almost get 2.5 fingers on it. My pinky sort of slips off, but you can almost get 2.5 fingers on it on this little micro pistol. Like I said, 7+1 or 9+1 are your options with it. Absolutely love it. Now, I believe you can also change this mag release around. Therefore, this is technically an ambidextrous handgun, right? Love that thing. Like I said, you can get them as low as $230. I think I paid $299 for mine. I'm completely happy with it. I actually carried this my whole vacation. A couple weeks ago, we went to my grandpa's house who has 80 acres. I shot hundreds of rounds for this and carried it everywhere I went, and I just felt good with it because it's so accurate. It's not the fastest handgun in the world, but it's definitely not as slow as something like a revolver or anything like that. You can definitely let this thing rip, and it's accurate. Go look at the video of me shooting it one-handed at that tree stump. Accurate as can be. Next up, this is my sweet spot for the CZs, the P10S. This is their subcompact version, and I wish I would have got it when it was the optics ready version came out, but I bought it right away. Anyways, this is, I believe 12+1. Yep, 12+1. Check this out. And then 7+1 on your left. It's obviously thicker. Can't fit in a pocket as well as the CZ P10 can. But it's basically the same handgun, same finish, same barrel, same sights. You just can't use the mag. What I would have done if I was CZ, just give us the 1.5 stack version. Allow us to use these mags and these mags. Keep the magazine compatibility going. But I know CZ will be dropping their Micro 9, so I'm sure that's what will be happening. They're probably going to have a thicker grip. They'll take those mags in a handgun of this size, this slide, and their Micro 9 is going to take over the game, and they're probably going to put this trigger in it, or maybe a little bit heavier than these triggers, right? But I love my CZ P10M. Everyone who's ever shot it likes it. So it's funny that people on the internet, they're there at a gun store, and they pull it out of the case, and they're like, ugh, this trigger. But here I am shooting 2,000 rounds of this thing, and I love it. And I own tons of handguns, tons. Good triggers, bad triggers, literally everything in between. This trigger is very shootable. And read the comments. There will be people who own this handgun in the comments that'll tell you how much they love it. People are just ridiculous nowadays. Anyways, awesome texturing on the CZ P10S. You don't really need grips on this. I just did it to thicken it up a little bit. I like a thicker grip for my hand size. Once again, 2 fingers or, 2.25. If I really push up, I can get 2.5. Comes with a rail, just like the whole series does. Same finish, just an amazing finish. I love it. Same sights, like I said, it's got to be out in the light. Then on top of that, I believe this has a 3.6-inch barrel, whereas the compact has a 4-inch barrel. Check that out. That's that comparison. 12+1 on the left, 15+1 on the right. There is a noticeable difference in footprint as there is with this as well. So anyways, this is my sweet spot though. This is my go-to carry option out of these three. If I need a light carry, going to the park, doing errands with my family, that. But if I'm going to a worse area, a bad part of the city, I love the CZ P10S as it has crept back into my carry rotation. I believe, once again, these are fully ambidextrous. Slide stop on both sides. Obviously, takedown lever is going to be on both sides. And mag catch, you can flip around, I believe. I'm not 100%, but I believe you can. That's why it's got that set screw. You flip it around and screw it right back in. Anyways, let's check out the trigger on this. And all of these rack like butter. Absolute butter. Even the CZ P10M with that guide rod that's basically meant for very little recoil out of a small gun, racks like butter. Dang. So crisp, so clean. People always talk about when are you going to get a staccato, when are you going to get all this stuff. Obviously, right here, I have a staccato in value, right? I just like stuff like this. I'd rather have a cheaper handgun that I can abuse and beat up and, scratch and not feel terrible about it. And if I am in a self-defense encounter, which I pray I'm never going to be, and I probably never will be, as most of us never will, I don't want to, have, they give it back to me. Even if I get it back, it's been used in that, and I don't want that, you know what I mean? So for carry, I like stuff like this. $350 is what I paid for this. $350. This is a ridiculous value. People are buying Taurus G3Cs, which once again, I love my G3Cs, I love my GX4s, but they're paying $300 for those. $319. This is $350, and it's a dang CZ. Let's get into that trigger. And as you can see, memory pads, real nice. Takes down like a Glock. crisp and clean as can be. Reset is so nice. Now, like I said, the P10M is the worst trigger out of all these, but it's not even a bad trigger. These are probably sitting at 4.5 to 5.5 pounds, depending how broken yours is in, right? This one has broken in as well, and it's gotten really, really light on me, and I like it. Another thing is the trigger guard. Look how big the trigger guard is, even with a fully loaded trigger, right? Absolutely love it. For where I live, we wear gloves a lot because it gets cold in the wintertime. It's perfect for having a finger in there that with gloves that's not going to accidentally depress that trigger. Last but not least, this is, like I said, I'm not armed security, I'm not law enforcement, but for home defense, for my go-to if I did need a, a crap at the fan situation is this. I love the Glock 19s, I love Glock 23s, I love Glocks. I love all those. I love all my larger compacts and full sizes, my Glock 45, but this is my go-to. This whole setup with the dot, which is a direct mount, so that's a Holosun SCS. It is a self-charging as well as direct mounting. You don't need plates. You don't need anything. You can get these for Glocks, Walthers, and they direct mount, so you don't have to use any plate. Look how low that sits. It is designed specifically for this handgun. As you can see, the CZ P10 in green. For instance, a Glock one will say Glock, Walther will say Walther, blah, blah, blah. But look how low that sits. It is the best setup, $680. So I paid $300 for that, but I saw them as low as $230. I paid $350 for that. I saw as low as like $320. And this was $680, and I haven't seen them for much lower. But look at what you're getting. You're getting the direct mount Holosun, also XS sights. My favorite sights, some of my favorite sights are the XS Minimalist. And look at that. So for this, it's more expensive, but you're getting the dot, that runs typically $300, $350. You're getting the XS sights, which typically run about $100, plus the firearm. So you're sitting at basically the same price without the dot and without the sight. So this is a true night sight setup, blacked out rear, which is what you want for co-witness, and a dot, and dang, look at that orange front dot. Look at this. It's like the perfect setup. Look at it. And once again, for $680, I'd rather carry this than a staccato for self-defense, for everyday carry, if I were to carry it, because I don't mind beating it up. It's $680. It's not $25, $35, whatever. And I just like it. So shout out to my buddy Heg who introduced me to this. This thing is an absolute beast, and I love it. Safety check and cleared. Trigger. I mean, the trigger on this has gotten so nice as we've been shooting it a lot lately. I mean, it's just a nice trigger. First trigger pull, nothing. And then a defined wall, crisp break. These are the best go-to budget series. And budget is about price, not quality. Because the quality of these are just unbelievable. Nothing against Taurus. But when I pull out my G3C, and then I pull out the CZ P10S, which are the most comparable in size, if you pay that extra $50, $70, even over $100 more for this, it is so worth it. It's not even funny. This handgun is something I can trust my life with, my kid's life with. If my wife wanted to carry this, or if my wife wanted to carry this, for a long time she was deciding between this or the Walther PPS M2. I would always have her try different handguns that I potentially thought she would like. This was on the list for a while, just because of the way it felt in her hands, and it's a solid shooter. But yeah, you can't go wrong with any of these. They're just great. I do prefer the CZ P10S because, unlike this, for instance, right, I can never make this smaller. I can never make this into a really comfortable carry gun for me. So if I want more capacity, I do that, and I just order the grip sleeve for it. But if I want to shrink down again to a nice main carry, which 12 plus 1, 13 rounds is good to go. A nice longer sliding barrel for very little recoil. A little bit more muzzle flip than this, but for carry, you can still grip that handgun pulling it out. I have a Hive base plate for it, making it 15 plus 1 even. This is the way to go. It's a sweet spot. It's the middle ground between these two. This is definitely deep concealment, pocket carry. You can main carry this. I do all the time. 9 plus 1 with the Hive base plate, 10 rounds, you're good to go. But this is just that sweet spot. 12 plus 1, nice trigger. You don't need the dot for self-defense. You don't need the dot ever, but this is the way to go. But this handgun right here has definitely won my heart over, as I used to, Glock 45 was my home defense, and all these different handguns. I have to get a light for this because this is going to be turning into my home defense. But this is definitely my bug out. If I did need a duty handgun, it would be this. This would be my setup. It's been reliable as can be, and we've put it through its paces, and it just keeps chugging along, as they all have. Not a single malfunction between any of these, right? I've showed a lot of malfunctions with a bunch of different brands on this channel. These just don't have them. They're like my Glocks. They just don't have them. They're like my Springfields. They just don't have issues. They're like my Shields, right? They just don't have issues. You know, these aren't my main carries by any means. I carry this, like I said, that full week. I've carried this here and there. I carry this at work, all sorts of stuff. I used to carry this a lot. Haven't for a while, but it's actually going back into my carry rotation as I've been shooting this a ton lately. And they're just the same gun, just smaller, right? It's just, these just run, and they're affordable, and they're budget. So if something were to ever happen, you know, we're good to go. But one thing I do want to mention before you go out and make a decision to buy one, CZ is probably dropping their Micro 9 soon, and it's going to be somewhere between these two handguns combined into one. So I don't want you to go out and feel like you made a bad purchase, because you cannot go wrong with any of these. These are discontinued though. This, the sweet spot right here. Love this handgun. They're all cheat codes. You know, it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.